I'm Derek Kilmer. I'm the representative for Washington's 6th District, which goes from Tacoma northwest, and includes all of the Olympic Peninsula. I've received a lot of great questions on Facebook and on Twitter, and I want to take a moment to answer a few of those questions. A lot of the questions that I've got have focused on the budget, and particularly on the budget put forward by Representative Paul Ryan. Marcus and Kathy on Facebook asked if I support it and whether it would pass the House. And the answer is I don't, and it did. Let me give you some sense of, in fact, it was earlier today that the budget came forward for a vote. Now, there was no vote on it. It did pass out of the House. It'll now go over to the Senate, and by most accounts, it's pretty much dead on arrival. It will, however, be sort of the House's position in terms of hopefully negotiating a bipartisan budget in the end. I do want to give you a sense of why I was against this budget, and there were really three reasons that drove it. First, I am very concerned that it's going to be deeply damaging to our economic recovery. According to the Congressional Budget Office, Representative Ryan's budget would cost 2 million jobs in 2014 alone. And part of my concern about that is, if you look at most of the economic analyses, one of the best ways to eliminate the debt is to grow our economy. So I don't know why Congress would want to pass a budget that would undercut our economic recovery. I think that goes the wrong direction, and I have real concerns about that. Second, I think it's a budget that focuses on the wrong priorities. I was a budget writer when I served in the state legislature, and I always tried to make sure that we made decisions that prioritize and that made sure we made investments in educating people and protecting our most vulnerable. And I think Congressman Ryan's budget goes the wrong direction in that account as well. As an example, the Ryan budget would end the Medicare guarantee and shift the burden for their senior citizens' health care onto them personally, increasing their costs. It would basically turn Medicare into a voucher system. I think that's the wrong approach, and part of that is personal for me. I've got a grandmother who is in a couple weeks going to turn 103 years old, and I can tell you she would not be in a position right now to be able to navigate the private insurance market. And I worry for the future about seniors who would not have that Medicare guarantee and would have to deal with the voucher program. In addition, Congressman Ryan's budget would slash health care for poor people and disabled Americans who receive assistance under the Medicaid system. Just a couple hours ago, I was sitting in my office with a bunch of community health clinic folks from our district, and they talked about the real impacts that they would see from cuts in the Medicaid program. And then the other area of cuts that I'm very, very concerned about is the cuts in the education arena, and in particular, cuts to college aid for students who depend on Pell Grants, and the budget would actually jack up the interest rates on student loans, would actually double those student loan rates. Listen, I couldn't have gone to college if it hadn't been for financial aid. I always look at education as the door to opportunity, and for a lot of families, including mine, financial aid is the key to that door, and I am worried about a budget that tosses that key out the window. I think that is the wrong approach. And then finally, my third concern is it does all of this ostensibly to try to deal with our debt, and that at the same time, it's a budget that extends more tax giveaways for folks who don't need them, for oil companies and for multimillionaires who frankly are doing okay and don't need more tax giveaways. I want to see us have tax policies that actually support the middle class and help our small businesses and help us get this economy moving again. And I think that's the approach that I've been advocating, and I hope it's an approach that we can get in a final budget. Speaking of a final budget, so now there's going to be continued negotiation between the House and the Senate. My hope is that we can actually pass a bipartisan budget that actually helps our economic recovery and that acknowledges our priorities as Americans of taking care of folks who need it and investing in a future so that we can get this economy moving again. That's going to take actually working with each other rather than duking it out. My hope is that we can have policies that get people back to work and hopefully get this Congress back to work too. So hopefully that's an answer to at least a few of the questions I've gotten. I look forward to joining you again and answering more down the road.